Now on to a documentary airing on WEDU this month, investigating systemic failures in home construction, regulations in the housing market, plus failures in the property insurance industry. The film is called Built to Last, Buyer Beware.
We take all kinds of chances in life. How many times are you willing to bet everything? Imagine taking all your money and going to a casino. You are going to risk everything on one spin of the roulette wheel. But as the wheel starts spinning, you look closer and realize the odds aren't in your favor. The chances of losing are far greater than winning. And yet, you've staked everything on this one spin. Believe it or not, this is the risk most of us take when we invest in a home without considering the possibility of disasters. And all too often, Mother Nature's spin doesn't land where we hope. And people lose everything.
It is not just life-threatening, it is not survivable.
We are talking in the studio to George Siegal, who is the film director and producer of Built to Last, Buyer Beware. Thank you again for coming in and talking to us. What you talk about the risks that we make when we buy a home, when we pick where we're going to live, and yet most folks don't think of themselves as risk takers when they're picking out where they want to call home sweet home.
They don't. You know, people are more interested in the icing than the ingredients of the cake, and that's a huge mistake because you don't know what you're getting. You don't know how well that house is built, what the risks are in the neighborhood. Yet you've taken all your money, you've slid it in the film we talk about a roulette wheel, you've slid all your chips in on one spin of the wheel, and if you lose everything. So you have to think about that. You know, you go on a sunny day and you like the park nearby and all the ingredients of the neighborhood, it looks so fun. That's not the day to go. That's not the day to make your tough decisions like that. You want to see it when it's raining, know what the risks are that you're setting yourself up for and how well that house is built.
What are some of the other things that people need to look at that may not be as pretty or as hallmark?
Well, you don't want to take the inspector that the insurance, that the real estate agent has on their list. You want to find somebody to inspect that house that's really going to put it through its paces. Are the windows safe? What's the foundation like? What's the roof like? How's the wind resistance in the house? What's going to happen to the front door? Most people don't want to do that because you like the granite countertops, you like the wood floors and the cabinets, but you don't think about that other stuff, and that's what can cost you your entire investment.
The documentary took you about over a year to film. Putting it together, you've talked about the lessons learned. From the reporter's vantage point, you have 20 years in the business. What would you say was the most heartbreaking aspect of doing this documentary?
Talking to victims about being sensitive to all that they've lost. A woman in Fort Myers Beach had lost her house because her father had dementia and canceled the insurance right before he passed away and the hurricane came. They didn't get anything. Another guy's been living, can't get back in his house. He didn't have contents insurance and their whole house was destroyed. He had 3 boats, a jet ski, everything gone. And then another guy didn't get back in his house for 7 years after Hurricane Sandy up in New Jersey. So people's lives are changed forever, and when you are involved in talking to them, it's just heartbreaking to hear their stories.
Describe for our viewers the mission that you started out with to make this film.
It's a gigantic wake-up call. I was in the TV news business for 20 years as a weatherman, as a reporter, and we used to cover these things all the time, and you'd see disasters and victims, and it's the same story every time with what it's like for the victims. And so I wanted to make a film that showed people how stacked against you the odds are of things being successful. A house is your biggest investment. You put everything into it. You put all your chips in and say, this is my forever property. But you don't realize how well that house is built. You don't realize how your neighborhood is going to handle water when the water comes pouring in, and then you think your insurance company is going to be there to write you a check when the damage comes in. And I want to wake people up, and that was the goal of the film, to really get their attention, and I think we're doing that.
How long did it take for you to amass all the pieces?
Over a year, probably a little longer than a year. I mean, it takes a lot of time because you have to get people set up for interviews, then you have to find victims that want to share their story, which is very difficult. So a lot of pieces go into place, and when you're making a documentary film, you have to get a release from everybody. You can't be TV news where you just walk up and you're doing a story on something and you can just roll your camera. Everybody in there has to have agreed to be on camera.
What would you say were the biggest lessons learned from doing the film?
The biggest lessons are be careful when you live in Florida, because it's crazy what we deal with. You know, we had 2 hurricanes here in Tampa last year that could have been direct hits and destroyed us. We went to Sanibel Island, which if people have been there, it was paradise, and now it's so depressing to see what happened there. We went up to Mexico Beach, which got hit by a Category 5 hurricane. And so when you visit all these places, you see you're living in a vulnerable place. And one of the worst things I hear after a disaster is people go, maybe this will serve as a wake-up call. We should be awake. This has happened so many times, and here and in other parts of the country, that there shouldn't need to be a wake-up call. We should already be doing things better.
What's been the reception to the film? How are you hoping that this will be used as an advocacy tool?
I think it's eye-opening for people. I think they come away, first of all, most people have never read their insurance policy. Most people have no idea what is actually covered in their policy until they need it and they pull it out there. So I hope people do that. I hope people start challenging their builder when they're building a house. Ask a million questions. Don't take their referral of, hey, these are happy customers. You want to find the unhappy customers. Those are the ones that have a better story to tell, because they might have had a bad experience, but you're not going to get the builder pointing that out. Go to the neighborhood and actually see the house after a rainstorm. See the neighborhood, what happens. Talk to people, talk to the local floodplain manager. You almost have to become your own investigative reporter, because it's a bottom-up thing. If we're waiting for the legislature to pass rules or laws that are going to be helpful for us, we could wait a long time. But if we all start doing a better job as individuals and say, I'm going to make better decisions, I'm not going to take the garbage that somebody's shoving down my throat, that's how we solve this problem, you know, one by one. And if we can wake people up and have them see that if you're not your own best advocate, nobody's looking out for you, you have a problem.
It was great to see all the different voices that you brought into the documentary. I'm so excited for you, so excited to see this. Again, congratulations, wishing you much success.
Thank you, because it's heartbreaking when you see, and you've experienced this yourself, once you become a victim of disaster, some people never get recovered from it.
It changes you, it really does. Thank you again for joining us, George. Wishing you continued success. Built to Last will debut on WEDU during prime time on October the 16th. With an encore presentation on the 28th. The 1-hour documentary will also air on our sister station, WEDQ, on channel 3.4.